Here we go.
Giffin podcast.
Here we go. We have Giovanni today. Giovanni is, look, I had a relationship with Giovanni for a long time. We go to the same church, and I am excited to have you here today, Gio, on the Jake Giffin podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. It is a beautiful Saturday morning, but yeah, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Now, I don't know if you know this or not. No, this might be news to you, but Rachel, your beloved, is close friend of the family. I would, I'd bail her out of jail. That's how well I think of her, right? So I mean, that's, I think of her like kind of a daughter from another father. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you know this or not, but when you guys started dating, I don't know, or maybe after you started dating, I think Sarah was over, her sister, and we were talking about you, and I didn't know your name, right? They said Gio, and then of course, and then it goes out, and then at some point I was like, so like they're heading out of the house or something, and I said, "Are you heading out? Are you going to go see Gucci or something like that?" And she was like, "Gucci." I was like, "Yeah, your boyfriend, Gucci, whatever. What's his name? Gucci." And then somebody threw in, at some point it evolved from Gucci to Cheeto. I'm not sure who did that. I think it was Sarah, but or Abby. I'm not sure who did the Cheeto part. And then it went a step further and went Cheeto Gucci. All right, the wheels got a little shaky on this one a couple times. We almost lost control of this podcast. It was hilarious. Giovanni Arganaraz comes on, and he's a great guy. You're gonna want to hit the subscribe button and the bell. Get notified and leave the comment Gio or Cheeto Gucci. Leave the comment Cheeto Gucci, and man, the algorithm loves it. It helps us out a bunch. I appreciate you listening. See ya.
Gucci.
Yeah.
Now every time I see Abby, your daughter, at the coffee counter, it says, I tell her it's Mr. Cheeto Gucci.
Mr. Cheeto Gucci. I think if you had a rap name, that's exactly what that rap name should be.
Cheeto Gucci.
Cheeto Gucci. Yeah. If you had start a YouTube channel tomorrow, some kind of podcast, call it the Cheeto Gucci podcast, and do, fly that mustache of yours. That'll be a trademark of Cheeto Gucci. That is a Cheeto Gucci trademark mustache.
Trademark. Yeah. Mustache TM.
Dude, I'm looking right at the logo right now. It's your face. Cheeto. You could just start a clothing line, dude. Call it Cheeto Gucci. There are so many people that would buy that. That's such a great name for anything you want to imagine.
I'll get a cease and desist from the real Gucci if I did that.
Dude, here's the loophole. Change your name to Cheeto Gucci.
Legally change it.
Legally change your name, dude. And then
I think this could work.
Or make it one word and trademark it. Then it's yours. It's not Gucci and it's not Cheeto. It's Cheeto Gucci. See? It's
yeah. You're onto something.
They don't even know, man. It's bougie, cheesy snacks. I don't know what it is, but anyway, so you're of that generation currently in your generation of young men, there is an awkwardness in the dating world. Like that, and arguably some part of the awkwardness is young men deciding that they're going to put the Lord first. They're going to make sure that their walk, their everything, that they're aligned with what God is doing in their life. And that is an honorable thing for sure. Mm-hmm. But it goes without saying, I think, that many of them are super awkward and don't know how to talk to ladies.
Yeah, I would say so. I feel like I would fall into fell into that awkward category at one point.
No way. Oh, at one point.
At one point. Yeah. Yeah. So I fell into that awkward category at one point. But I think like the most important thing is like your relationship with the Lord and putting that first. And then all the rest of it is going to be added to you. So everything's going to fall into place. Like the Lord knows like, hey, I have a desire to be married
Mhm.
and I'm just going to continue to pursue him. And then if I see an attractive lady that I am encouraged by, then why not try and take a step toward that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what was really helpful, like there was a point where I knew I wasn't going to be dating and I was just serving and going to church. And then there was a point where it's like I had this desire, I want to start dating and I want to like find a wife basically. But yeah, what was really helpful was just when I did start looking at people to date, um, our young adult pastor, Pastor Bill shared that
Shout
the
out to Pastor
reason,
Bill.
shout out Pastor Bill, hope you're listening. But what was really encouraging was just him talking about his wife, and the reason he started dating her was just that he was so encouraged by her and he wanted to like get to know her better. And as he got to know her better and like court her, she encouraged him to pursue the Lord even more. And
Mhm.
so that was a trait, or I think, yeah, something that I wanted. And then yeah, as I started like taking interest in Rachel, I was like, oh, she's serving in Kidsman. Oh, she's serving in Trolley. She's
Mhm.
constantly meeting up with her one another. This person's encouraging.
Yeah.
And then, hey, do you want to go get coffee? And then, yeah, right off the bat, I think our first coffee date, I was like, yeah, this person is special.
Mm. Well, you shot for the moon, dude. I mean, like, you're a good looking kid, so it wasn't a far reach, but man, I mean, when you put your effort into it, you didn't. I mean, I don't want to blow her up too much, right? But she's a pretty lady. She's a black belt American Kenpo karate master, you know. She's a godly woman who has now had your child. You know, you shot for it and you hit it. So I mean, like, what's the is what's the advice to the young men then? I mean, is if they're so you have priorities. It's she's got to be hanging out with her one another's. She's got to love the Lord, obviously. Like no missionary dating, right? That's stupid. But she's got to love the Lord. She's got to be with her one another. She's got to be serving. She's got to be like serious, right? What is there any other criteria that just really kind of stuck out to you?
Um, yeah, I think because before we started dating, I have a 7-year-old now,
Hmm.
but I had a kid in a previous relationship, and so that was something that was for me important. This was before Christ, before getting saved. But yeah, that was something that was also important, just like that they
Thanks for
would get
clarifying
along.
that, by the way. We don't want people to
Yeah,
think that Christians are out there just banging chicks and having babies, right? I get it. I no,
yeah.
I appreciate the heads up. We all
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that was something that was also important, that they would get along, or that she knew kind of how to handle motherly situations.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I said, the first date, like she's telling me, "Oh yeah, my job is a nanny. I'm a nanny." Basically, like
Yeah.
I have all this experience like with kids, raising kids. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I hit the jackpot.
You're like, I have a little girl I need you to meet.
Yeah, basically.
That's gotta be scary though. I mean when you're getting back out in the dating thing and you're doing your pre-qualifying and you're putting more prayer into it, right? It's like
Yeah.
this is kind of what I'm hoping for, but that's got to be pretty scary, like meeting a girl and then going, "Hey, by the way, I have a 7-year old." Uh, you're kind of you're kind of going to come into this
Yeah.
mom status.
Yeah, and I think that's like the nice thing about like finding someone at your own local church,
Mm,
especially because then you get to see one another, not necessarily like in a romantic way right away, but like you get to see each other and get to know each other at church and in that environment, and you just get used to seeing one another. Where I didn't have to have that awkward talk like, oh, hey, I got a 7-year-old, but
all
like she
right.
already knew because I'm taking my kid to church and I'm doing my best as a single parent to raise her up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was, I think, the nice thing where I didn't have to have an awkward conversation where like I did let her know like during like our first date, like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I have a 7-year-old. She's like, yeah, I'm aware.
Oh yeah. She goes, "Oh, I know."
Yeah, she's
I've
like, I know.
She goes, "Oh, I know. I've been watching you.
Yeah.
You know, you and your mustache. You know." She
See, this is
flutter her
this is a
eyelashes when you said
post-marriage.
it?
Now this is a post marriage mustache,
That's right.
so
Yeah, it's a post-marriage mustache. That's what marriage will do to you. It'll influence you to grow cool mustaches. And this isn't even the coolest it's been because are you back? Are you going back to the twisting thing?
oh, we're going back to the twisting thing. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, like, I think my beard got like
Hmm.
pretty big, and then we went on a camping trip with our fellowship group, and my skin just got so irritated. I was like, I need to chop this off. So I
Oh yeah.
took it down, and
That's not
I
exactly
feel a
how I
lot
thought
better.
that story was going to end. I thought for
No,
sure that you were going to say tourists started taking pictures of you, you
yeah,
know, hashtag Sasquatch, hashtag
yeah,
Bigfoot, you know,
yeah. I was scaring the families from the campsite.
freaking out the locals. They're like, "Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, who is this? He's got
who is
such
this man? We've never seen anybody like this man.
nobody here." Like so that irritated your face. So you're like, "Yeah, man, I'm just gonna be I'm gonna be one of them clean face guys, and maybe
Mhm.
I'll do the mustache."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it is actually twisted now, huh? I can't really see it that well, but
It's a tiny bit. It's not as, I don't know, voluptuous as it once was.
how much maintenance is that for people considering facial decorations?
Facial decoration. Oh man, beards are easy because you just line them up, and then yeah, so they're great. But yeah, the mustache is a little bit of maintenance. You got to shave all the time around it. You got to be
Mm,
careful shaving around it. And then once you start, if you're trying to do the handlebar, like a sweet handlebar, like from the 1920s, then you got
mhm.
to get a little bit of wax and throw that in there.
Yeah.
But
The earlier you emerge in your facial decoration to let's say the early 20th century, late 19th century, that's the more maintenance,
mhm,
right? Like if you go
yeah,
really big, you're going to be spending hours a day just waxing it. Is that what
yeah,
is it a wax?
yeah. So I was using a wax. I'm still using a wax. I'll use a little bit of wax and just throw it in there to help give it shape. But yeah, once it starts getting bigger and longer, yeah, you got to use more wax for it. And then you're just constantly messing with it because if like for whatever reason the wax isn't holding in the middle of the day, you'll see like one side is drooping. And you're like, oh no.
You're like, this isn't going to be great. I'm trying to get some heavy hitters for this, aerospace place that hired me, and now I'm showing up with a droopy lip.
Yeah, I can't be showing up with half a mustache.
No, you look like you've had a stroke or something. They're like, "You okay, boy?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm fine. How are you?" Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Seems like your face is. Nope, nope. It's just my mustache. I need more wax.
Yep.
So before you asked Rachel out, what was what was going through your mind? Like, okay, I'm gonna like you decided maybe you go, okay, you see her, you're thinking about asking her out. What is that conversation with yourself like?
What was that conversation like? I mean, it was just kind of the same thing that we like that I brought up earlier. Like, is this person good with kids? Does this person serve? She's doing all these things, so that's
So you had
that
no,
was the plus.
there's no apprehension. Like you just you labeled those things off, right? You're like, okay, is she good with
Hmm.
kids? She's this, she's that. This is before you've ever spoken to her. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to get in the head of a young man who is going to ask this girl out or this lady out for the
Hmm.
first time.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's anxiety too because you really like they check the boxes from the outside, but you don't know them as a person. So
Mm,
then that's where I was like, okay, why don't we get to know each other? And so that's when I asked her to coffee, and it's like, hey, do you want to get to know one another? And she was like, let me pray about it.
You're like,
And
sometimes that's the Christian no.
yeah, sometimes that's the Christianity. Or I mean, you go the far other way with it, and you're like, you know what? God told me I'm your husband. You
Oh
pull one
yeah.
of those.
Yeah. Well, I don't
Well,
want to.
joke's on you. I'm supposed to marry you.
Yeah, I don't. Well, look, I mean, I'm not gonna. That's actually my story. So hey, tread lightly,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
No, I had, I was because I was in some similar position. When I was 22, I spent I think my years between 21 and 22 single, and then going to church a lot, doing the thing, being part of groups. And then I just started praying that I really wanted to get married. I wanted to have a wife, particularly because I enjoyed sex. And, you know, as a Christian, I kind of would like to do that again someday. And for me, that was in the context of marriage. And um, so I just started praying. I was like, Lord, here's my wife, man. I don't care what she looks like. I don't care. I just want her to be a godly woman. I want her to love you more than I do. I want you to, I want that commitment, right? That was my only real thing. I want an Eve to the Adam kind of situation. That's no worries one way or another. And I just kept praying about that. And then one Sunday night, back in those back in them days, we had Sunday morning, we had a Sunday morning service, we had a Sunday night service. We had a class during the week, and then we had a midweek service, the whole church. This is before the whole small groups thing became what it was. And it's kind of peeled back since then. Now it's like you go to church once a week, and then everybody gave up midweek studies to break into small groups and kind of do that thing. That's kind of the trend of churches, whatever. But we go there. I went Sunday night, having a great time worshiping the Lord. It was great. The whole time that the pastor was speaking, I was just for some reason I was focused on this girl that was, I don't know, 10 rows up. I don't even never never really seen her before, never had a conversation with her, nothing like that. And I was just in a place where I was eager to know. And so I kind of asked the Lord while I was sitting there. I was like, hey, Lord, what is going on with my mind right now? Like, who is this? Why am I paying attention to this chick so much? And I literally felt him tell me that that was my future wife. I felt it so strongly that, in fact, on my way home, dude, I'm giddy. Like I had just been on a first date, right? Like I'm giddy. I'm with a buddy of mine, close friend. And I was like, bro, and Jason McCabe, if you're out there, you were in the car, right? I was like, bro, I think I just saw my future wife. And he was like, yeah, right. Whatever, dude. Like, that's okay. Yeah, that's dumb, but whatever. And so I spent that whole next week, man, praying like, "Hey, Lord, I don't know how to ask church girls out. I don't know anything about church girls. Like I'm coming from the world, right? I'm coming from, hey, babe, you look nice. What do you want to go out or something, right? It's like that was easy. I didn't know how to do this, like you said, courting or dating church. I just didn't know how to do it. So I spent the whole week praying, like, Lord, all right, if she's the one, I can't be the one to talk. I can't be the one to initiate this conversation. I don't know how to do it. And so if she's gonna be mine, she's gotta come talk to me. And it was kind of like one of them fleece moments, kind of like one of those you're just gonna test the Lord kind of things, Like, you know, make it happen, Lord, if this is what's supposed to happen. And then the next Sunday, I remember I had the worst cold of my life. Like I couldn't, snot, tears, the whole situation, man, was a mess. But I couldn't miss church because I didn't know if maybe this answer was going to happen. I didn't know. So it just took everything I had to get in the car, drive to Anaheim, and go to church. And as soon as I walked through the door of the foyer, imagine Compass Bible Church HB in the foyer where the information booth is, right? Imagine something like that. She walks through those joining doors from the hallway right up to me and just starts talking. And I'm sitting there going, this is nuts. Like, this is kind of crazy. Like, we've never talked before, right? So I think I can't remember. I think it was kind of like one of them half-hearted ask out, kind of like, oh, we should have like go get a coffee or something someday. And she was like, yeah, that sounds cool, whatever, whatever. And then and that was it. Now I didn't tell her that story. I didn't tell her that story for probably, I don't know, maybe a couple months, because I didn't want to freak her out. But I genuinely felt like, all right, this is the lady I'm going to marry. This is how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we dated for 7 months, and then we got married. So, and 30 years later, here we are. See, who cares? Do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for it? Nah, you're not ready for it. Of course, you're not ready for it. Nobody's ready to give. You can wake up in your underwear and play video games in the middle of the night. No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that when you get married. It's okay.
No, you're waking up in your underwear and changing diapers instead.
Yep. Yeah, that's when you start having kids. Yeah, when you start having kids,
Yeah.
then you're changing diapers. That's next level stuff. First, it kind of helps to get used to just waking up and kind of having that life together, changing. But how long you guys have been married? What, a year?
Yeah. Last last year in June, so a little over a year and some change.
That's, yeah, that's great.
Mm.
You had been in relationships before. Was there any kind of adjustment that you had that surprised you in this time?
I don't think so because I'd grown up going to church and
Mm,
knew how to date Christians, I guess. But this time around it was different because I just knew man, I do not want to mess this up because this person is awesome and I just really want the Lord to bless this relationship.
mm,
So I think I think just each other, we both knew um the goal of dating was marriage
mm,
eventually.
yeah.
And we did try and keep each other's I guess we would really prioritize one another's purity and
Mm,
even just being considerate of one another and not doing things or even I remember this one time Rachel was like, "Hey, if I wear these pants, would this make you feel weird?" And I was like, maybe. And then she's like, I'm gonna go change them, while we're dating. And I was like, wow, I really appreciate that she would consider me that way.
yeah.
So it was just things like that where we both knew we wanted to pursue marriage and we both wanted to see each other pure at the altar.
Yeah. Now you said if you didn't mess something up, was like you have like a third nipple or something you were afraid she was going to see?
No,
Yeah. Like, I don't want to mess this up, dude. As soon as she sees this
I do not want to mess this up. Yeah,
third protrusion, she's going to freak out.
yeah, that was the deal breaker, the third nipple.
The third nipple is definitely, and if it's on the back,
Mm, mm,
rough, man. That's like a
mm,
twin that didn't emerge. You know what I mean?
mhm.
That's
Yeah,
that's rough. You don't want that sucker blinking at you in the middle of the night.
it's rough.
This is good. This episode's getting out of control, Gio. Control yourself.
One derailing it.
Oh my gosh. So
Uh,
that's cool. So you have two daughters, right? No,
no,
no, you have
I
a
have
boy.
one.
You had a boy
Yeah, I
with
have a boy.
Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a boy with
Duh.
Rachel. So I got the 7-year-old girl and then the 5-month-old with Rachel.
That's
Boy.
win-win, dude. You have a boy and a
Yeah.
girl. You gonna have an army more of them?
We'll see if the Lord wills it.
You should at least shoot for a Jackson 5, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, we've thought about it.
that seems like the magic number because by the time you get to number five, that's probably the drummer, you know,
Yeah.
like the 7-year-old's the singer because they like attention and they want to be in front, you know.
Mm.
Tito and
Or
Tito and Jermaine, they're back there. You got, they're going to be third or fourth.
yeah, or with the height in our family, we'll have a starting five basketball team.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
There you go.
Take them on the road,
Mm.
do an and one kind of situation. Have a
Yeah,
clothing line.
we'll be like the Harlem Globetrotters out there.
Mm-hmm. I see that. What would you couldn't name them your last name because your last name is hard as hell to pronounce. You're like, I mean, how do you pronounce your last name?
So there's the
Arganaraz?
American one. Yeah, Arganaraz. There you go. You just say Arganaraz. That is how you pronounce it. But in its native tongue, it is Arganaraz.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely could not do that. Where is it from?
It's from Argentina.
Okay. Yeah, you
Yeah,
definitely couldn't name the band or the team that. That would be nobody would play them. You'd never get any calls because nobody could search you on the internet.
exactly.
Like,
Or it would be easier to get calls because it's so different. Everybody would, oh yeah, there's only one of these
maybe
people out there. Maybe.
maybe have you ever wondered where last names, like who how last names were invented or how you got a last name?
I think from what I remember, I think it was like what your occupation was or what street you lived on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how a lot of people got their last name was like where either where you're from or what your occupation was.
Hmm. So you had so the street your ancestors lived on or the occupation they had or they just really liked the letter A.
Or they just really like the letter A.
It's just like throw 4 or 5 A's in there and and then break it up
Yeah,
with some random consonants.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how they did it.
And see if it flows. And it does flow as soon as you read it a few times. So you have to, like banana, you got to know where to stop,
Exactly.
just keep, it's gonna be, it's
We're
gonna
just
be
a
a
few,
huge.
yeah, we're a few letters off, but yeah, it's literally like banana.
See, most people when I tell people my last name, they'll put an R in it or the TH or they'll do something. They always put an R in it. It's always
Mm.
it's always Griffin, and it's like there's no R there. Like there's just no R. So I don't know. Like I don't know how else to say it. Giffin, right? And they go, "Oh, okay, Mr. Griffin." I'm like, "Yeah, see, I didn't say the R though. See, like I don't know how you got. I don't know why you're doing that. And what? How is it? How is it with your name? Like you got to be spelling that.
Constantly. I'm
Yeah.
constantly spelling it. There was one time I didn't need to spell it for someone. I was going into middle school. I was in sixth grade. I was lined up, and then there was this teacher, or like vice principal. His name was Mr. Valeriano.
Mm,
So that's another hard name. So I
yeah.
walk up and I tell him my name, and he's like, Arganaraz, and he writes it perfect. I was like, he's like, did I shock you? I also have a hard last name, and he handed me the paperwork. And I was like, whoa, that was crazy.
Wow.
This dude spelled out my name.
Dude, you didn't ask him to adopt you or like, be your be your pet or something?
I should have.
Dude, I would have paid taxes to that
It's
guy.
wild. Yeah.
I, like
Yeah.
it's hard to find somebody with as deep a fascination with vowels as you do. It's like
Hmm. I
so
was like, this is incredible.
that's rare.
Yeah.
What are you finding some of the harder transitions currently in from being dating to being in married life?
I
Something you
think,
can divulge that's not going to make, Rachel mad.
oh yeah. No, I think it's because when you're dating and when you're single, because even if you're dating, you're still single. Like
Mhm.
you can be very selfish with your time and you want your own things, your own time, your own space. Um, Whereas when you're married, all of that goes out the window, and you are called to be sacrificial with your love, with your
Mhm.
time. So there could be a learning curve, definitely,
Mhm.
with men, where I was very selfish at this one point. Now I have to really consider others, especially like now that I'm living with someone that I need to consider. Um, Especially with because men like you can live with other guys, and I know guys that have roommates, and that's one thing, but living with a woman is so different because there are different emotions, different thoughts. They're just they're manufactured differently than men.
Yeah.
So you need to understand that going into marriage and be patient and be loving, and also understanding,
Mhm.
because there's some ways that I would maybe want things done, that I think like this is more efficient, but I have to also consider my wife and how maybe she would like to have something done. And then maybe like dying to myself where it's like, okay, this isn't a hill worth dying on, if that makes sense. But yeah, so there is a learning curve. But I mean, if you have a kid right away, then I mean that'll help your selfishness right away because you're gonna need to consider one, your wife, and then also this life that is in front of you.
Yeah.
So you can put away all the childish things like video games and stuff like that.
Yeah. Until your
Okay,
kid is
Rachel heard me and she's like, you still play sometimes.
dude, I play every day.
Nice.
I turned
Nice.
52. I turned 52 like a few days ago. I still play. I'm Call of Duty every day, dude.
Let's
So
go.
so
Call of Duty.
like so I try very hard not to throw shade at people who, young men who play video games because I'd be a hypocrite first of all. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I'm probably not going to stop playing it until it's, maybe not fun anymore, um, you know, but
Until
my
yeah.
daughter, Abby's 22, so
Mhm.
like she doesn't need me around as much as she used to. Or I mean, she needs me around, but we're when she was little, we were playing all the time. I didn't have time for video games, really, right? Like
Yeah.
I'd rather play. The time I wasn't working, I was playing with her. I wasn't gonna play video games and
Hmm.
not play with her. That's crazy talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the
Exactly.
Oh, what were you saying?
Oh, I said exactly.
Oh yeah. What was the conversation with your daughter prior to asking Rachel out?
So I didn't necessarily have like a conversation with her. Um, I wasn't gonna do that until like I knew like, okay, this relationship is pretty serious and then introduce her. But just through circumstances, I think it was like 2 months of dating,
Mm,
and I think her mom needed me to watch her on this day that I wasn't planning on having her,
mm,
because I was having Rachel come over and meet like my family and stuff, and then I had to let her mom know like, hey, I'm introducing like like my girlfriend to my family. If you're okay with like meeting her, then right now, then yeah, I'll take her. And yeah, so it worked out, and then she met Rachel, and they hit it off, and yeah, it's been sweet.
nice. She was like, no challenge and no challenge with the stepmom kind of. You're not my. Have they gone? They haven't. They didn't hit that phase. And
Um,
hopefully they don't. Where you're not my mom, right?
yeah,
That would
yeah,
suck.
we haven't hit that area yet. But I mean, there is like some challenges navigating blended family. I know it can be hard, and yeah, there's a lot of prayer that is involved for sure.
And specifically on your daughter, like Abby, she's 22, so whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, you try to do something with her, she's gonna cut you into pieces. She's got weapons. So just putting that out there. Uh, So what do you think? I mean, is there, it seems as though the generation is getting older and older before they start dating, before they start asking people out. They're a little bit more tentative.
Mm,
They're a little bit more, I know some people that are almost 30 or something, before they start even
yeah.
considering it. What's that all about, do you think?
So I think it's a lot of culture because um a lot of people are allowed to stay at home for longer periods of time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing just because like back then a 20 something, like a young 20-year-old could have afforded a lot more than a 20-year-old today. So I think there is kind of like, oh, I want to make sure I'm financially stable first
Mm,
before I start dating, especially like in church, because everybody's goal is to like when you want to date, your goal is to be married.
yeah.
So how am I going to get married if I don't have the financial means to be able to do that? So I think that's where that happens, where it's like people are waiting later and later because they're trying to be financially ready to be able to provide for a family, if that makes sense.
That
Where
makes, yeah.
where like I've seen like guys that are younger that were younger than me or like 20, but they were able to financially provide through other um like let's say they didn't go to school and they got into a trade or something and then they did really well in that trade
Yeah.
and they're like, oh yeah, I'm financially like stable, I would like to get married, and then they put a ring on their
Yeah.
girlfriend's finger and they get married young. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just because as guys we are called to provide for our family, so I think there is that want to provide um and that need to, and then
Mhm.
that's why we wait so long. But then also I think guys just because of how it is where we're waiting so long, we become comfortable being single, and then we become comfortable with having our own time, having our own things,
Mhm.
you know, or staying at home with mom and dad
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, a lot longer. I mean, you have to make a lot of money to live on your own in Southern California, pretty much anywhere now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what happened. It's only been over the last 5 or 6 years where, I mean, things have gradually obviously got more and more expensive, but it's only been over the last half a dozen years or something where it's gotten so, where the disparity between earning and surviving has grown so vast
Mhm.
that the idea of, you know, most new graduates out of or out of college or even trade schools, if you're an electrician or plumber, you're taking up one of the trades, which is perfectly fine. I mean, don't go to college, who cares? But like if you got to make $10,000 or $15,000 a month to pay a $4,000 rent or something like that, that's like that.
Yeah.
What are you, like a doctor or something? Like what do you like? Electricians aren't, maybe electricians in some areas are making 10 grand a year, but not right out of school, I wouldn't think, or, or 10 grand a month. But
Yeah.
how are, this is, most often we talk on this podcast about mindsets and psychology and obviously how to align that with what God wants.
Mm.
What do you, in this gap, now that young men are waiting longer to get married, because reasonably so, they're waiting to be a little bit more independent financially. How are they? Let's put this in the PG version. I'm tempted to do better than that because I think, but PG's fine. How
Okay.
are men now managing that gap in and managing their purity without? Because you'd hate to wait whatever 10 extra years for yourself to get financially set and then
Mm.
get married and then drag into that marriage a whole bunch of conditioned
So
baggage.
yeah, yeah, that's where like I mean, training yourself in righteousness. Like I pulled up Psalm 119. How
Mhm.
can a young man keep his way pure? By guarding it according to your word. And then like in verse 10, with my whole heart I seek you, let me not wander from your commandments.
Mhm.
It's like that's it right there. How does a young man keep his way pure? By guarding it according to your word.
Mm.
Like you got to be in the word, not just like for the head knowledge, but it's like I'm grasping onto this. Like we had a sermon this last weekend, and there's an illustration that was really cheesy, but also really helpful, where
No
the
offense.
pastor was
Oh, that
no
wasn't
no
Bobby.
offense,
That wasn't a
it
Bobby.
was it wasn't box no, where the pastor was like, whatever you're grasping at, that has a hold of your heart. Grasp heart,
Yeah, yeah,
and that was just really helpful. But like it's cheesy, but it's helpful. It's
yeah,
helpful to remember that, where it's like wherever we're gonna be grasping, whatever has our attention, that's what's gonna grab a hold of our heart.
yeah.
So if I'm grabbing more of God's word and doing what he commands, that's what's gonna have a hold of my heart, and that's where I'm gonna be able to put off those temptations.
Is that the idea? Is like when you're watching, you're not watching from a distance. That seems creepy. When you're watching that chick from a distance, you're like, all right. But when you're kind of assessing, God bless, when when both women and men are assessing the available inventory. What a weird way to put that. Um, because it makes them seem like objects. They're not objects. You guys understand what I mean. Anybody that listens to this show knows what I mean. All right. So that's got to be because you mentioned that with Rachel. Like you're kind of looking at her and going, man, does she love the Lord? Is she hanging out with her one another's? Is there is there any other way really to understand kind of if they're desiring, because that's where desire comes from, right? Your heart. Whatever's in your heart, you're going to desire. You're going to either desire to live the way God wants, and thus you'll take that into your marriage, or you'll desire to indulge in things like porn and weird proclivities, and you'll take that into your marriage. How is there any other way to assess if let's say a guy, because let's just talk guy stuff, because I don't know about chicks. Chicks elude me still. I get them to the extent that you can get anybody, but like for me, men are complicated enough. Like I'm a complicated mess. Like my head is a circus. Everything that's going, it's crazy. Is there a way? How do you assess if my daughter's looking at a guy? How does she assess whether or not he's really desiring what the Lord desires?
Yeah, I think it's like I think like what we've already kind of talked about, like what is this person doing? Like, is your actions and the way you speak come out of the abundance of your heart? And then even like Jesus says, like you can tell a fruit, sorry, you can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears.
Hmm.
So this person is like in fellowship, bearing good fruit, then the likelihood of them not having like maybe skeletons in the closet would be pretty might be low if this person is like constantly in fellowship and like sharing pouring their heart out. And then even like it also helps when you ask on a date at some point like, so what's your testimony look like?
What's your yeah, yeah.
That always helps. I think on our first date we like shared our testimonies, and so that I think that always helps. It's like, oh man, I understand where this person's coming from a little bit, and then also just the work that the Lord is doing
Yeah.
in their heart and in their life.
Who did you end up doing premarital counseling with?
Pastor Bill.
Pastor Bill. In that, and I don't want to ask you too much about that because that's private. But in those premarital counseling things, do you guys discuss stuff like that leading up to the marriage and how you're going to stay pure between the courting and the
Oh yeah, for the most part. Yeah, we'll talk about things like that. I mean, we're constantly going into the scripture, and then he's really helpful at breaking it down for us and like trying to get really practical in certain things, like what does it practically look like to live with your wife in an understanding way,
hmm
and putting away all types of falsehoods. So is there is there anything that you may feel like, oh, I may not have lied, but I may not have shared the whole truth kind of
hmm
thing. So that a lot of those things were really helpful for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, trying to navigating going into it, kind of navigating like I don't have any ulterior motives or anything that's hidden that that isn't out in the open. That's
Mhm.
helpful. You can, all the finance stuff, like I've done premarital counseling with young people before, and it's kind of like you go through the finance stuff and you go through that. That's all just basic math. Um, Debt counseling, like, hey, stay away from debt, whatever. All that kind of simple stuff. And then you get into like the relational things like sex, uh, how you handle conflicts, what's the plan, what's the strategy, like, let's play this out, especially if you have like, especially if you have one part of the couple that's going to travel a lot for work,
Mhm.
and you go, hey, what's the strategy here, right? Like, what's the play? Because you're not going to travel a lot and not be tempted from time to time. So
Mhm.
you have to go into it with a plan, with a strategy, with completely open eyes, so that
Mhm.
you can remain, so that you can put the shield up, so that you can be on defense, so that you don't take things for granted and allow little things in. And from a psychological standpoint, the scriptures are completely true. I mean, if you let these things in, these little arrows of the enemy, these little things that can happen, those things can become habits, whether, like if you keep feeding them or you fall into a pattern of thought or behavior that keeps just cycling and reoccurring,
Mhm.
you can really not only hurt yourself, you hurt a lot of people. I mean,
Yeah, it's like, well, that's with every type of sin, when we see like big sins, like especially like sexual immorality or like infidelity, like those like big sins like that, they don't
mhm,
happen just, oh, it just happened. No, it's like
right.
it's slow compromises in either our minds, our eyes, just it's slowly and gradually we'll get to that point.
Yeah.
So, which is why we need to be like vigilant, to cut it off when it is slowly and when it is small. When it's like, oh yeah, like my eyes, for instance, like, am I gonna like look at this person longer than I probably should have
Hmm.
at the gym or something like that?
Sure.
Or am I gonna turn from that? Or like even thoughts, like, am I gonna dwell on this thought
Yeah.
um longer than I should?
Yeah. Because if you I mean, even at the trigger, even at the moment that you recognize, you know, somebody pretty, or let's say at the gym or something, as soon as you recognize it, there's got to be an immediate response to think of her as a soul, think of her as somebody
Yeah.
who's made in the image of God, think of her as somebody who's honorable and worthy of that
Mm,
respect of being made in as being God's child and
mm,
not some object for pleasure. And that's
yeah.
if you let those things marinate too long, then your brain spirals, and then eventually you get to a point of no return where you're thinking completely crazy thoughts, and that's not loving. I mean, that's not loving towards her. That's not loving towards your wife. That's not loving towards God. That's not loving towards anybody. You're breaking all the. That's
Yeah.
a. You're breaking. We're breaking them all. like,
Yeah.
like like that's I think it's one of the reasons sexual immorality is brought up so much in scripture is because it's like that's the like, all right, so you're a thief, right? Okay, well, stop stealing stuff. You're like, okay, my bad, I'll stop stealing things, right? But sexual immorality has rewards physically in the flesh on multiple levels, right?
Mm,
It's through your eyes, it's through your ears, it's kinesthetically, it's like all it's got all kinds of inroads into your heart that if it
mm,
grabs hold will lead you down a road where next thing you know you're thinking bad things about your wife. Boy, she's to this or she's to that, and I wish she had this and I wish she had that. And that's that coveting of your neighbor's wife thing that Moses writes or God writes through Moses in the Ten Commandments. Like, hey, don't go coveting
yeah.
your neighbor's wife.
Yeah. It's even like what was I think helpful way of thinking about just all sin like that was in Joshua, when the guy when he took the household gods or whatever and he hid them and then people died because of it. Lord
Oh yeah.
punished like the camp. Just how
Amen.
he says like I saw, I coveted, and I took it. And
Mm-hmm.
then even seeing the parallel of like Eve taking the fruit where she saw, she desired it, and
Yeah.
she ate of it. She ate of the fruit. So that's how it is with all sin, where it's like we see, then we start to covet, and then that's when sin is birthed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And James gives us that road where he says that you're tempted when you're lured and enticed by your own desires. Like
Mhm.
you're and he uses the fishing term like lured and baited basically. Like by your own you have a desire to be sexually active or sexually immoral. Let's say in a singles kind of scenario where young men are waiting be so long to get married, they have a desire for sexual whatever, and the lure is that piece of the line that gets your attention, right? You're heading down this road, you're minding your own business, you're doing fine, and then something shiny over here says, "Hey, look at me." And then you look, and then you have to decide if you're going to take that bait or not. And that's what James talks about, the you're lured and baited by your own desires, and when desires conceive, they give birth to sin. And when sin
Mhm.
grows up, it kills you like a
Mhm.
spoiled, petulant little child. Like, they got everything it always wanted, and then when it got older, decided that you're just not giving me enough. So it tries, like those. You ever hear those? You ever know a teenager like that? It was just like they're they're driving a BMW to school. They have everything they've ever wanted, and they can't stop talking trash about their parents. My parents suck. You're like, come on.
Come on.
Your parents can't suck that bad. You're driving a Beamer to school. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like they may
Mhm.
not be great parents emotionally, but they seem to be taking care of you pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's what sin does. You give sin everything it wants, and then when it gets old enough, it just goes, I don't think I want you anymore.
Mhm.
It kills you. And so
Yeah.
that's you guard the desires. And I think that's part of the theme of this podcast episode is that we're trying to get men, young men, older men, men generally. If you got testosterone running through your body, and arguably, well, women do too. So let's just say everybody, you got to guard your heart, right? Out of the desires of
Mhm.
your heart. It's a Proverbs 4 says that too. It says you got to guard your heart with all vigilance, for out of it flows everything. you know
Mhm.
and, that, and if you don't, if what you really want in your life is I want to get high, I want to get drunk, I want, if those I wants don't line up with what God wants, then you may not. Well, I know for sure if your wants don't line up with what God wants, you're probably, the young men out there are not going to be a good suitor for my daughter, because I'll straight
Mhm.
bury you in the desert. You know what I'm saying? I got no patience for somebody who's going to break my daughter's heart. I promise you. I
Mhm.
got coordinates. You know what I'm saying? I will no, I don't have coordinates,
Yep.
but we will have
Mhm.
coordinates. This is going to scare all the guys away. Look, my daughter. No, I'm just kidding. I can't date Abby. Her dad's a psychopath. Um, not a psychopath, I promise. But she is my only daughter, and we want to, it's like, and you have a daughter too. And
Mhm.
it's like once you have a daughter, you're like, oh my gosh, like we have a small family, bro. Like once Carly and I are gone, that's Abby's basically whatever family she has. That's the family she's gonna have. So whatever, so I'm always being protective about what's in the heart of the man that's trying to date my daughter. Because I'm like, I don't want I don't want guys taking a bunch of baggage into that relationship and then making her suffer for it later. And vice
Mhm.
versa, by the way. But
Yeah.
I'm not objective in that direction.
Mhm.
You know, I go, so what? She brings baggage in, Gio. Live with her in a freaking understanding way, dude. Like, who cares about her baggage? You're like, all right, I get it. I got to live with her in an understanding way. All right. Do you have anything to add for the young men that are going to look to your wisdom and your experience when they're courting a female?
When they're courting a female, I have one more passage that was also helpful. Um, when I was going to start dating. It is in First Thessalonians 4, starting in verse 3. For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that each one of you know how to control his own body in holiness and honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles who do not know God. So I think, like, again, Pastor Bill shared that with us, and he's like, hey, if you guys are thinking of dating, like, this is the will of God for your life, your holiness, that you abstain from sexual immorality and that you know how to control your own body in holiness. So if you guys don't know how to basically have self-control over your own body, how are you going to do that with a full-blown woman in front of you? So I was like, yeah, that's true. But yeah, I would share that with all young men. Hey, have self-control over your own body before you even try to think about dating.
Period. Right there. That's Giovanni Arganaraz. How do you say it in your native tongue?
Arganaraz.
Good luck with that. So thanks for coming on the podcast, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
If you enjoyed this show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. For more information about Jake, log on to jakegiffin.com and find him on all social media platforms. Until next time, peace and power be yours.